Moscona on a Flaming Dragon Friday. Matty Ice, what's up?
Gentlemen, what's good? Feeling good on a Friday. Ready to watch LSU beat Ole Miss and make amends for the Saints' loss last night.
Well, what's funny, I go on your show last night and you asked me about Polian and the special teams. And now we got a question here from one of our Booster Club members about the special teams. Do you think outside of Jaden Daniels being like the goalie from Big Green when it comes to pushing the ball down the field outside of the Florida game, has that been the biggest problem and hurdle for LSU to get over?
Man, yeah. Look, and the only reason I hesitate, guys, is because LSU's a flawed football team. I mean, there are a lot of issues. I mean, the offensive line is starting 2 true freshmen to tackle. You lost your best interior defensive player in Mason Smith on the first defensive series of the game. Your entire secondary is made of transfers. So please don't misunderstand me. Like, this team has flaws. Special teams has just been so odd because every single week it's something new. It gets one thing if you don't have a kicker. Well, you can go recruit a kicker and you can fix that. The problem is you saw the protection breakdown against Florida State. You've seen muffed punts. You've seen muffed kickoffs. You've seen kickoffs out of bounds. You've seen penalties on every special teams unit. You've seen the lack of coverage on kickoffs and punts. Every week it's something new, man. Last week against Florida, they allowed a 47-yard return on the opening kickoff of the game, and they muffed another punt. It just, man, it has been a circus, and I've just never seen anything like it. So yes, that's clearly been their biggest bugaboo.
And, you know, we always talk about, and like I was talking yesterday on your show, I mean, people sometimes, especially young players, think that special teams is this totally different thing than offense and defense, when in reality, it is a football play. Maybe some of the positions are called different, but kickoff and kickoff return is nothing but a run fit from further space away. I mean, there's so many parallels because it still is football, but controlling the controllables, not getting procedure penalties, not getting illegal formation penalties. You're going to get some penalties for holding during returns. You're going to get face masks every now and then, but things you can control, blocks in the back, in front of the play and behind the play, not staying in your lane on kickoff, not understanding, hey, we're going to box and contain on kickoff, which means I'm going to box it. You're going to fill in over the top once it comes inside, just like you do when you're spilling things or you're wanting to box things up front. It's the fundamentals. And it seems like I'm with you that if it was one phase, if, punt return just wasn't very good, if you had a guy that was muffin punch, you put another guy in there, or hell, you let the ball bounce. But when you're doing things like lining up wrong and you're getting beat in kickoff return one game, then kickoff the next, then you can't protect on field goal, which is the easiest thing there possibly is to do when it comes from an installation standpoint. That is a problem. And like I told you, Polian grew up in a football family. I mean, Bill Polian's one of the most famous guys that it comes to when you look at the NFL and that network. It's like, do I trust him? Well, like I said yesterday, if Guy Fieri's son to open up a taco truck, I'm gonna trust him for a while until you give me reason not to. So I hope they can turn it around because I know they're working hard on it. And I'm used to seeing LSU having good special teams, man. That's the thing. I'm used to watching LSU kick people's ass on special teams. They have the athletes to do it.
Different world, man.
It's a different world.
Of 800 yards.
Yeah. It's a different world. But I want to get to this LSU Ole Miss game because it's massive. The implications of this game is absolutely massive when you have Ole Miss and LSU that both host Alabama coming up. And when you look at the West after Alabama lost, as we know, to Tennessee. What is the key? If you had to pick one key, Matt, for LSU to win this game, I know there's multiples that you have to have. It's not just one thing. But what is the overriding factor for LSU to win against top 10 ranked Ole Miss this weekend?
It's got to be run defense, right? Ole Miss is third in the country in rushing offense. It's what they're going to try to do. When you got Judkins and Evans and Jackson Dart even showed he can run a little bit. That's got to be the key. And I don't think LSU is going out there to hold Ole Miss to 72 yards rushing. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Ole Miss is going to get there. Your lane's too creative and those guys are too good. You just can't let them run for 300. I guess I look at the Kentucky game as sort of the blueprint. And Ole Miss won that one 22-19. And they popped early, guys. But they scored 5 points in the second quarter and only kicked one field goal in the second half. So after the first 15 minutes, they scored 8 points. And the key was Kentucky getting stops and holding Ole Miss to field goal attempts and maybe forcing a turnover. I think I think that's the key for this LSU defense is to realize you're going to give up yards between the 20s and probably a lot of them. There's going to be chunk plays. But when you have the opportunity to get off the field, you need to do it. And honestly, LSU at times has been really good at that, at playing very sound defense. Look, against Auburn, they got down early. They pitched a shutout in the second half. At Mississippi State, they got down at home against Mississippi State. They were down 13-0. Gave up just a field goal to that offense in the second half. They've been exceptional at making defensive adjustments. I think, guys, that's probably how this game's going to go. I think Ole Miss starts fast, and I think once LSU kind of walks, jogs, sprints, they get stronger as games go along. And I think we're probably going to see that tomorrow in Tiger Stadium as well.
How encouraged, Matt, were you by seeing Jaden Daniels push the ball down the field against Florida? That's been the missing piece, I think, for this LSU offense, because I know you're starting some young guys up front, but we've seen these skill players. We know about Kayshawn. We know about Malik Neighbors. We know about the backs y'all have back there with Emery and the group. And with Jaden Daniels' ability to run and extend the play, if you start taking advantage of that far third, LSU is a problem.
So how encouraged? Of course, it was encouraging to see it consistently over 4 quarters because we had seen it this year just in spurts. Like, go look at the fourth quarter against Florida State. LSU was down. They had to play with tempo. They had to put the ball in the air. They did, and they took advantage of their receivers. The problem is LSU just hasn't done it consistently throughout the game. I mean, I'll give you an exact example of the development. If you watch the Florida game, LSU had a 54-yard touchdown to Jeray Jenkins, and it was a 3rd down and 4, and LSU called what they call ice. So it was a hard count to get Florida to jump off sides to give them a free play. They executed it perfectly, and Jaden put the ball up, and Jeray Jenkins scored a 54-yard touchdown. The week before against Tennessee, they ran the same thing, and they had single coverage on the left side, and Jaden was pressured, rolled right, and threw the ball out of bounds. And that was the play where, if you're watching the game against Tennessee, Brian Kelly, the cameras caught him on the sideline, screaming expletive and saying, "You had one on one." Yeah. And he's saying, throw the bleeping ball. So, I mean, I think that's an example of the progress that Jaden Daniels has made. I think, guys, just trusting his receivers to put it up and go make plays on 50-50 balls. Man, Joe Burrow lived on that in 2019. I'm not trying to compare the two. Please don't misunderstand. But how many times I saw Joe Burrow just say, "Hey, Jamar Chase is better than your guy. Justin Jefferson's better than your guy." I'm not saying what LSU has right now are guys that are going to be maybe 2 of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, but Kayshon Boutte and Jeray Jenkins and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors and Jack Besh, guys, this receiving room, I would make an argument this is the deepest receiving room in the SEC. Like, it is your unquestioned strength. Use it. So, I think they're at that point.
Yeah. Matt, we haven't spoken since Alabama went on the road to Knoxville and lost to this Tennessee team here. Now, you're already on record saying that LSU is going to beat Ole Miss. So that would mean that LSU has 1 loss to that same Tennessee team. That would give Ole Miss 1 loss. Will LSU find a way to win the SEC West, or will Nick Saban do what we've always seen, right the ship and make his way to Atlanta?
Stop saying Voldemort, David.
I thought that was the other guy.
Cone. That's what that sounds like? An unrealistic Michigan guy who's living in the past. That's what that sounds like.
Tell me how. Tell me how, if you host Alabama, and Ole Miss hosts Alabama and you only have 1 loss to a Tennessee team, how can LSU not win the West?
No, I love you, Cone. No, LSU's just not good enough to beat Alabama, and they're not good enough to win out. I think LSU is going to lose at least 2 more games the rest of the way. I think this is a year for LSU that's been about establishing culture and processes and good habits,
self-love,
all the things that had eroded under Ed Ogeron. And what you're seeing, I think, is Brian Kelly do that and find a way also to win games along the way. I do think LSU is going to beat Ole Miss. I like LSU at home this weekend. And it's in part because of LSU. I think in part because I think a lot of people maybe are infatuated with Ole Miss because of the number next to their name, but that's a ranking that they're worthy of. They've won all their games, but they also have the 110th strength of schedule right now. They were only really challenged by Kentucky, and Saturday is going to be a completely different deal. And we've seen LSU go through the grinder already. But Cone, to answer your question, LSU's not good enough to beat Alabama yet. They're not talented enough 1 to 85. they are really tricky road spots at Texas A&M and at Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could win either of those games. I think they could lose either of those games. They could lose tomorrow against Ole Miss. Good. So no, I think LSU, if they finish 4-4 in the league, or even 5-3, that would be an incredible start for this Brian Kelly era, considering what he inherited. Now, Cohen, I think Ole Miss is a little bit of a different question. If Ole Miss beats LSU, and maybe gets a little help somewhere along the way, they could definitely win out. But I would say this also, man. I was talking to a handicapper buddy who told me if you look at point spreads right now for the rest of the season, Ole Miss is going to be an underdog in every game except the Egg Bowl. So they had a front-loaded schedule, which is now back-loaded and rents due. So we'll see how Ole Miss does in November.
Yeah, I actually like LSU's schedule moving forward over Ole Miss's if they find a way to win that game tomorrow. Let's talk about the Saints, because the Saints are not a good football team right now, Matt. Saints 2-5. I think they finish 6-11 maybe. Let's say if the Saints find themselves with one of those top 5 picks, what do they do next year? You going after a generational quarterback and try and find the next Drew Brees?
Cohen, I'm sorry for the Michigan dig too. Michigan looked awesome.
It's still been
like I don't.
It's all good, man.
Were you upset that I didn't get upset? I mean, it's the winningest football program of all time. We don't care, Matt.
That's like a Yankee fan right now trying to make himself feel better about being 0-2 to the Astros. We'll
get to that.
We're on the road. We're on the road, man. We got one of those back home.
Like, you think I don't get it?
Like the land of toys.
I just love Cohen. That was a cheap shot. Maybe I'm a little bitter because I had Penn State plus the points.
I'm used
last
to
week.
it, man.
I did too. Yeah.
What was the question again?
What are the Saints going to do when they get a top 5 pick? Because they're not a good football team, Matt. What should they do?
Cohen, they traded their first round pick to Philly.
Oh,
they don't have a first rounder. That's the most, dude. That's the most depressing part. That's the most depressing part. Is you would finally be in position to draft your franchise quarterback, and Philly, who's the best freaking team in the league right now, is going to get your top 5 pick. It's so depressing. Look, the Saints for the last 7 years at least have been in win now mode. As Drew Brees was getting older, it was all about this salary cap gymnastics. They got this amazing capologist, Kai Harley, who's brilliant at manipulating contracts to make it fit under the cap. And the Saints have been in perpetual win now mode. So they trade future assets to make contracts work, to make the team ready to win now. And the problem is, guys, they have, right now you look at this team, which isn't very good, and they're not going to the playoffs, and they've traded future assets, and they have contracts that are not tradable. Like, look at what Carolina's doing. Carolina traded Robbie Anderson. Last night they traded Christian McCaffrey. They're not done. Like, they're fire sailing right now to build up assets because they have contracts they can trade. When the Saints restructure Michael Thomas and his dead cap number is $38 million, you can't trade that dude even if you had someone who wanted him. You know what I mean? And it's every great player on this team that would have some trade value. So they are stuck, man. Like, they got to just pray that somehow Jameis Winston's broken back heals and he decides he's going to be, a guy who was worthy of the number 1 overall pick and can maybe make them better. But otherwise, they are in it, man. They are in it deep.
Yeah.
Matt, how's it week 7 and Alvin Kamara doesn't have a touchdown?
Crazy, right? I mean, a part of it's because he missed a couple of games. But look, Kamara's he's been good at times. Like, he was good last night. But Blaine, like, they lost the Carolina game, a very winnable game, because Alvin Kamara just fumbled and led to a scoop and score. Like, he's had his issues this year as well, man. They're just not good. Like, I missed the mark. I didn't think they were going to win the division, but I picked them 10-7 and a wild card team this year. Like, they ain't getting a 10. They ain't
y'all secondary is beat up for sure.
And then Bradley Roby goes down too. That was tough yesterday.
But look, man, guys, this is the NFL, all right? And so Bradley Roby goes out and Chris Harris is in. And Chris Harris is 32, but he's played a ton of football in his career.
20 years.
Yeah, man, and he's competent. And here's the thing, man. Dennis Allen, after the loss on Thursday Night Football, I'm a little steamed right now. Dennis Allen on Thursday Night Football kind of blamed the injury. So, what's your biggest concern? He's like, well, it's the health of our players. Basically blaming the injuries. Brother, Arizona was missing 6 starters in that game yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, your injuries haven't contributed to your inability to tackle or protect the football with any of your skill players. Like, hold on. If Mark Ingram doesn't fumble against Tampa while you're going in for a score, maybe you win that game. If Alvin Kamara doesn't fumble against Carolina, you should win that game. Like, if Andy Dalton doesn't throw 3 picks, including 1 in the end zone last night when you're about to put up points and go up 2 scores, like, maybe you win that game. That's got nothing to do with injuries. Like, protect the football and tackle. That's fundamental stuff. And they're not doing it. They stink.
Control the controllables.
Oh, Matt. All right. 0-2 versus the Astros. Right. Coming back home, though. How we feeling? I need the pulse. I need the pulse of the fans.
It's over, bro. It's over.
Don't say that. You're just on a cliff this morning. What's going on?
Golly, let's get you some help, Matt.
We lost 2 on the road.
Dude, like, even you got, all right, I did not expect them to win game 1. Right? I did not expect the Yankees to win game 1. Like, you're popping bottles in New York City after you finish off the Guardians. When I saw the team tweet a picture of getting on the plane at like 12:07, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, because they like
Astros -1.5.
Right. Like the plane issues they had in Cleveland, where they were supposed to fly home to New York after game 5. They had to stay in Cleveland and then fly home and play game 5 the day they traveled. Like, it was crazy. So they win it. They pop bottles. They're drinking. Then they got to get on a plane at midnight and fly to Houston and then sleep off their hangover, get up and play the best team in the AL. Like, I didn't expect them to win game 1. And even with that, they still had a chance. Game 2, you had your opportunity and you let one swing beat you.
Yep.
And that's a bummer. Like, your bullpen is atrocious. And even in spite of that, like, they weren't terrible the last 2 days and you still lost both games. And you're going to see Verlander maybe twice more if they need him in a game 7. It's not a good matchup. There's way too much swing and miss with this Yankees lineup right now. Like, I wish DJ LeMahieu was healthy because I know that guy's going to put the ball in play. And there's just not enough of that with this team right now. So, no, man, it's over. I mean, they might scratch off a couple at home and push this thing to 6, but I think that's probably the max.
Well, it sounds like you probably should have got a little bit more before the All-Star break.
Yeah, well, they put you on blast on the hype video, so I can't wait for you to come back like Jordan on that one. But, Matt, always good stuff, man. Tell everybody where they can find your content. You cover LSU like a warm blanket in the wintertime, my friend.
All right, guys. If you can spell my name, you can find me on the internet. MOS.
That's the problem. We can't spell it.
You're right. Coach, you misspelled my name.
Well, he's definitely not spelling it right after that Michigan comment. I'll never spell it right again.
Yeah, you're more of a Monday guest. Yeah. Because Friday, you're really putting a damper on my Friday. I was going to go drink some bourbon tonight and have a good Friday. Now, man, I'm like, God, I just want to go sleep, man.
I'm only a bad Friday guest because the Saints and the Yankees both lost 12 hours.
But after LSU beats Ole Miss, it'll be that damn Mardi Gras for Moscona.
Man.
Hey, Matt, real quick, moon pies. Do you like them or not?
Love a moon pie.
Oh, yes, Matt. Now
why do we have
ground at the end?
Why do we have the 7 people that like moon pies on the show?
What about candy corn?
We can't
what about candy corn, Matt?
Let's go 2 for 2, Matt.
I was a fat kid, so if it's sugary, I probably like it. I love candy corn.
Thank you. Let's go, Matt. 2 for 2. We make up. We're best friends again.
Disconnect the Zoom. It's not working.
Now, if I get you, if you'll say go blue before you leave, we'll go 3 for 3.
No, he's reaching now.
Yeah,
good talking to you, Matt.
Good talking to you, Matt.
All right, guys. See you.
You would have done it.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you're enjoying this content. If you do, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We put out content all the time from all a variety of sports all over the globe. So make sure you keep checking us out and let us help you win the water cooler. I do want to play a little game that we talked about before. It's called One Phrase, One Word, okay? Basically, I throw a team to you. You can either describe that team with a phrase or one word. The choice is yours. All right, you ready? I'm going to let you get in a good mental space. Okay. Tennessee.
Juicy.
Explain, please. Why juicy?
Well, one, just to play off like the entire Vol Orange, but also just, I think they're one of the most exciting things that's happened this season and could have happened this season because of what they represent, right? We're getting ready to expand into a college football playoff with more teams. People question parity, and now all of a sudden in year 2, you come in and slay the giant. Yeah, albeit at home, I get the environment, I get this Alabama team and all that stuff. Right team, right time, very juicy storyline for us to sink our teeth into, not only this year, but for what it means in the future as the college football playoff expands.
I love it. Mine would be Backstreet's Back. All right.
Backstreet's Back, all right.
Backstreet's Back.
Backstreet's back, all right.
Are we each giving a team to Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Ole Miss. Give me a phrase.
Ole Miss.
Because last year I was told to get my popcorn ready, and I did so. And let's just say the movie left me wanting.
like the other guys.
They were so convincing in their argument, they swung me.
Yeah, just like the other guys.
I ain't here for a long time, but a good time.
I ain't here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
Perfect one.
We'll ride with it off that, and
perfect.
we know that basically you're going to have players for about a season there, and then
That's exactly right. All right, Blaine.
Yeah, all right. I'm interested. What about Auburn?
Oh,
God!
Somebody kill me,
make it terrible,
please.
Yeah, I would say that girl is poison. Maybe I'm not sure.
That girl is poison. If I were you, I'd take precaution.
I love it. I like
Shout out
that.
to those poor trees.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's just look. We're now just making sure they don't poison the mascot. But
I have one more.
Right,
Because of the big debate on the show this week, I need to know here: moon pies.
Oh, delicious.
Thank you.
Really?
There we go.
We
Pro
found
moon
one.
pie crowd.
Now,
There
hold,
we
real
go.
question though: candy corn, yes or no?
Oh, that's a big yes for me.
Yo,
I've got
you
candy
guys
corn
are
strapped.
monsters. Oh
Shout
my
out,
God.
shout out to the pumpkins. They've got a different texture.
Would you like to join me and Michael Knowles in the Stop Candy Corn Hate movement, please?
Now,
guys?
All seriousness though, licorice.
As long as it's not black licorice, then yes. Can't
Okay.
do. My grandfather's the
Acceptable.
only person I've met who's enjoyed black licorice. I can't do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
By the way, did you guys know, and I don't know if this moon pies thing came up because of a game that you might have watched for South Alabama, but Mobile, Alabama is the largest consumer of moon pies in the world, and moon pies are the most coveted catch at the Mardi Gras parade.
Well, guess what, Mike? I went to South Alabama. That's my alma mater. Believe me, I know. And also Mobile. Yeah, Mobile invented Mardi Gras.
So
they didn't invent it
how
in
are
New
you
Orleans.
guys-
It was invented in Mardi Gras.
We have to get you guys on the pro moon pie movement.
I just don't like them.
not
I'm not a
good.
marshmallow guy.
You don't like marshmallow.
I'm not a marshmallow guy. I'm sorry. I know they're not peaks. I know there's
not
difference.
even, they don't even taste like a true marshmallow. Just like
they have the marshmallow texture.
You're eating
Blaine.
Well, look, last time Mike came on here and said The Other Guys is a great film. He sided with you guys. Now he's saying moon pies are
right.
delicious. So
from a guy
there's
who went to high
commonality
school
here.
in Mobile, who's been to a lot of Mardi Gras parades, who's been hit in the face with a lot of moon
Oh,
pies.
I've been smoked.
I'm telling you,
pies.
they're just not good.
Okay.
They're not good. I don't enjoy them.
Hey,
Maybe
our
As
I'll-
guest-
someone who has
our guest
willingly
has
smoked
spoken.
myself in the face with a bunch of moon pies, they're great. And you guys are wrong.
Oh, that's definitely.
it. I
Well,
love it.
people need to go smoke their own face with the Gojo Show, DraftKings over there with Mike Golick Jr., whatever that means. But MGJ, I really appreciate you coming on, my friend. Tell everybody when and where they can find your content.
Yeah, guys, make sure you check it out. Like they said, Gojo, wherever you get your podcast, 5 days a week. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. The DraftKings YouTube channel as well. And then catch me on the road on weekends. Learfield College Football Saturday Night Radio. We are going to be in Happy Valley this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, a little Minnesota Penn State action. Looking forward to it.
Hopefully they can be a little happier than the Valley was last week when they went to Michigan. I compared it to when you used to get spanked in the grocery store in front of everybody and you were old enough to be embarrassed by it. That's what it reminded me.
Yeah, it looks like you played your dad one-on-one in the driveway and pissed him off. Early.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why you don't talk trash early.
Exactly.
You never do it, like Georgia State. Anyway, I appreciate you, MGJ. Make sure to check out Gojo Show everywhere you can find those. Check them out on Learfield. Big game in Happy Valley this weekend. Appreciate you, dog.
Thanks, fellas.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you're enjoying this content. If you do, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We put out content all the time from all a variety of sports all over the globe. So make sure you keep checking us out and let us help you win the water cooler. All right, so Blaine, you were mentioning something about a conspiracy theory with the officials for Tennessee in the Alabama game. Please let everybody know what you're
I'm going to go ahead and start with this. This referee crew was the same referee crew 2 years ago when Auburn played Arkansas and Bo Nix spiked the ball backwards.
Oh, which is definitely a
They called it an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fumble. So apparently, if you go back and watch the game, especially one review, they came back and the referee after review said, after further review, it was a touchdown by Tennessee. And after he put up his hands, it looked like he was celebrating.
After video review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown. Touchdown.
And let's go back to this. Let's really look at it. All right, Bama had 17 penalties. 17, first of all, there's holding on every play. You can call it when you want to. 17 penalties for 140 yards. Tennessee had 6 penalties for 30 yards. And let's really think about it. Apparently, I've heard through my sources, which I trust, that there's a couple people who might have been colluding referees who had money on Tennessee.
No.
No
Yeah.
way.
No
right now,
way.
and there might be an
You know-
investigation coming soon into these referees about colluding in this game.
No, number one, that would be the biggest story in a long time in a lot of sports and in a lot of areas. I could maybe believe you a little bit if I didn't watch them absolutely do the same thing against Texas 4 weeks ago. But this Alabama team is the most penalized team in the country, not just because of the Tennessee game. This wasn't something that the first 7 weeks just didn't happen, and Alabama was playing unbelievably smart and disciplined and like normal Alabama, and then all of a sudden they go to Tennessee and just pull a Drew Barrymore from 51st Dates and forget.
Yesterday, I've never even met you.
17.
They lead the SEC in
They lead the SEC.
17. I don't care who it is. Everyone holds. There's holding every play. The refs can call it when they want to. 17 in the Tennessee.
The only thing that maybe there's an inkling of why somebody would think that is because it was the same crew that gifted Auburn that win against Arkansas. But it is just very hard for me to believe. Number one, it's really hard to get away with. Unbelievably hard to get away with. And number two, I just don't think it happened. I think the penalties were justified in most cases against Alabama.
I think y'all give refs way too much credit.
I give refs way too much credit.
Refs are.
What do I always say?
Go back and watch. There's a documentary. There's a documentary on Netflix right now. These guys are dirty. They get paid.
The NBA one.
The NBA one. They get paid for certain. They get paid for certain calls to make games better late, to make it closer, make it. In the day, refs want the jobs for refs are to get more eyes on the team.
So it was the refs' fault that Alabama gave up 52 points.
No, but it is a refs' fault that they called for 17 penalties.
I just feel like the Alabama
17. The dude did this and then celebrated.
Well, how did he celebrate?
How
Show
did
me
he
real quick.
celebrate?
How did he do it?
He's like, after further review, touchdown. Yes.
You can see it obviously on the screen.
It smells like colluding. Something smells wrong.
What else you got?
Okay.
What other proof you got on this?
What other proof? Well, as I said, according to my sources, all right.
Okay,
in
Adam
a couple
Schefter.
of weeks, there might be an investigation into this crew.
Well, we'll see. Tell us in the comments. Do you think there was a conspiracy with the referees? Did they help Tennessee beat Alabama? And is my brother slowly losing his mind?
A bunch of cheaters.
That happened this week on Good Morning America. My friend Otto Penzler, he is the greatest editor of mystery novels in the world. He is also the editor of my novels. And he was on a GMA segment where they were asked to name the greatest mysteries ever. And this is the first thing he said right off the bat.
What do they consider the absolute best? The mysteries you have to read.
The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. It was written in 1860. It's a great romance novel, and it's a great mystery novel, great suspense novel, all rolled into one.
So then they asked him, what about mysteries, great mysteries that have been written within the last few years? And this is what he said.
It's a book called When Christmas Comes, and it's set in an idyllic town where people don't lock their doors, and a brutal crime occurs, and the murderer has confessed, and his lawyer calls a friend and says, I want you to get him off.
So he named my book When Christmas Comes. And again, he published the book, so he has an interest in selling it, but he publishes a lot of books and could have named any one of them. And I know for a fact, because I talked to him, that this is one of his favorite mysteries of the last many years. And I should mention that the sequel, A Strange Habit of Mind, is coming out in a couple of weeks, and I hope you will all pre-order it to let them know that this series can continue and should continue. What was so touching to me about this is The Woman in White is a book that made my career. And in some ways helped save my life. I read it at a time, the darkest time in my life when I was really struggling. And one of the ways I was struggling is I couldn't get my career going. And one of the reasons I couldn't get my career going is because I wanted to write about all the ways that I saw life. And I knew I had a talent for writing mystery and crime fiction, but I didn't think that you could write deeply about the world while writing crime fiction, because I thought the plot, the demands of the plot, would take away from the power and the depth of what you were writing about. I thought you had to write the serious novel, the literary novel, if you wanted to get into the depth of life, and you couldn't, in the depth of reality, and you couldn't do that by writing genre fiction, crime fiction, mystery fiction. And then I read The Woman in White, and this really was in one of the darkest moments of my life. And I remember sitting up in bed and thinking, oh, that is how it's done. This is a great novel. It is a great novel. While you are pre-ordering